Hello. Turning the page. Oh my God, my lighting okay here. I look like a vampire on there or something. Okay. I just did a talk on getting started with the tarot cards. And I mentioned in there doing classes. And I've done classes, and they're always like doing classes. But I thought I'd bring this up. I thought it was pretty interesting to recognize as I've done my classes. You might find it interesting too. And especially if you do classes already, you might like this. But even if you don't, it still might be something interesting for you to look into. Usually a class with me is like 5, 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. You get together once a week. That'd be a Wednesday night or something like that. And so usually about the first 3 weeks, there's a lot of I like a lot of interaction in my class, people talking. I usually set up in a horseshoe type of situation, one of those tables. Here's a shot of a group of them over at Theosophical Society I was doing a class with. And so they're getting to know each other. Every week they sit at the same spot. They usually do that. And they have people next to them that they're used to. And they've been hearing about the tarot and how it works. Most of them already know a little bit about it. They got their own cards. They bought a few books. And now they're taking a class. So they got some idea what's going on. And but then what I'll do is usually with the last 2 weeks of the class is I might start it with the last thing we do before the last 2 weeks start. We'll say it's a 5-week class. At the very end, the last half hour of the third week, I might do this. It works out real well. What I'll do is I'll put these people in two people groups. These 2 people sit next to each other, next 2 people sit next to each other, and so on, as a team. And usually the classes, like I said, it's a horseshoe of people. And what I'll do is I'll take the first 2 people over on this side, and I'll take the next 2 people, I'll pair them off. And then what I do is I go to the first 2 people, I take my deck of tarot cards, and I throw over 3 cards in front of them. And I go to the next 2 people, and I take 3 more cards off my deck, and I throw it to them. And I just go around the room, throwing 3 cards over to each group of 3. And what they're supposed to do is I give them time, and I tell them, read the cards, read 3-card spread. And it's like a light went on in the classroom. All of a sudden, it became alive. Because the interaction that people doing, now they're reading. Now they're not listening or learning, now they're reading. And it's just like you could have turned a light switch on in the room. You could feel the energy of the whole thing change, because now they're interacting and they're reading the cards, and they're seeing that they have ideas of what these cards mean. So I just throw over 3 cards of each group, and I'll go back to the first group, and I just circle around and say, okay, what are you seeing here? And they'll interact. They'll tell me what each one of them are, tell me what they're seeing and what they came up with together and that type of thing. Then I'll tell them what I'm seeing. I'll go to the second group, and I'll do the same thing. They're all going in their own thing here. The whole thing is alive. And let's go to each group and say, okay, what are you seeing? What about this? I'm seeing this. What do you think there? And all we're doing is we're interacting with each other, and they're seeing good stuff. And I'm showing them, I'm seeing this. You're seeing, there's no right or wrong. There's no me saying to them, well, that's not right. This is what's right. And tell them what I'm seeing. No, this is what you're seeing. Okay, good. I'm seeing this. What do you think of that? Or how about this card? We could also mean this or that. And and the reason I like to have a couple of full classrooms of doing that because they love that because that's where they're really learning something now. I mean, they're doing it. So you have a 5-week class. You take those last 2 weeks, and you have it mostly being interacting, doing just a 3-card spread over and over again with their partner. And then me going around to their table, their part of the table, and saying what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? I'm seeing this. And they see that they can read them. You could have a written test or something like that. Oh, I passed my test. Well, that's fine. But when you're actually reading in that classroom and you're saying afterward, I mean, they're going home that night saying, I can read the cards. I was reading the cards. And yeah, that's what they were doing. And the next week we're to do it again. And they love it. I've actually had people tell me we should just have a 5-week course just doing that. That would be great. If you did another thing like that, I'd be here. I don't think you could do that on a Zoom meeting. I don't see how it would work. But you could do it if you got a live group of tables or something about that face-to-face interaction where you could do that. I throw over the cards and say, here's your cards. Read them. Here's your cards. Read them. I just go around the room and I come back about 5 minutes later over that first group and say, well, what are you seeing? That's where they get an education. But now they're reading. And they also know that by that time, they also know nothing's off the table. I mean, anything they see in is possible, is acceptable. There's no wrong answer to seeing something. As long as you're seeing something, the only thing that could be wrong is I don't see nothing. Then you'd have trouble there. But everybody sees something. I never had anybody, I don't see nothing. Never had that happen yet. But there's something about that interaction with another person. And maybe it has a lot to do with the fact that the instructor is there, which they know I'm a pro reader. And I'm going, okay, all right, I see that. What about this? And I tell them what I'm seeing. And we keep doing that. And they start to see, they're seeing stuff just like I am. And that puts them on my level there. And that's good. That's where you want them to be. And they're going home that night saying, I'm reading cards. I'm doing this. I just did it. And I liked what I saw. And it wasn't wrong. There's no wrong. It might be better than what I saw. And they know that's the way I talk. That's the way I think. They might see something really good. But anyway, there's something about that interaction. You could do that at home by yourself, but you're not getting a confirmation, you're not getting a feedback. And that feedback is so important to see that you're sharing your ideas of what you're seeing there with somebody else who's in the same place you're at. And you're feeling comfortable about saying what you're seeing, and you're looking at those cards. That's the biggest thing there is to teach the tarot. Is when you start to do it, then yeah, okay, you're doing it. There you go. So you just did it. And not telling them they're doing it. Let them tell themselves that's what they're doing. They're doing it. And they see that they're doing it. So interaction with others, especially if it's other people that are already there, if you can get that type of a thing going, if you're trying to learn the cards, if you happen to know a reader, even if they're just starting out themselves, it would help a lot if you knew a pro reader. But if you don't know a pro reader, see if you could put yourself in a situation where you are talking with one of them. And I have ways, I've talked about different ways you can set that up. If you wanted to try to get a thing going in your area, in your neighborhood, on Facebook, maybe at a coffee house during your around your house or a lounge. Talk to the owners first and say, is it okay if I have a group here? We're gonna look at tarot cards. Usually a coffee house, even a lounge, they don't care. You know, they just want that. Fine, there could be a bunch of people in here. You might have 10 people come into that thing. I had one person do that, and at a coffee house, she advertised it on Facebook. In her area, she had 30 people there that night. In her area, just I'm going to go to this thing. It's like our tarot gathering, only it was real. And half of the people there were probably pro, or maybe a quarter of them, and the rest were all just people interested in at different levels. So they're out there. And it's easy to do now with internet. You know, before you had to put an ad in the paper. Well, you could put something up on Facebook or something. Try to get a group together. You get a group of you together, believe me, that's experience that you'll be telling yourself, I'm a reader after a while. And that's the only person you really got to convince you're a reader, not some instructor. You got to convince yourself you're a reader. And that's how you do it. So anyway, I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd bring that up about the class of, you know, you're doing a class and there's a lot of interaction in my classes. We all feel we could talk. Everybody feels fine with that. There's a lot of talking and discussing, sharing ideas here and there. But when I take that after a couple of weeks of learning the basics of the cards or going over them, and then I start throwing cards over for this person, these two people over here, those people over there, and on and on in this around this table. And now they're supposed to interpret them together. They're working together now. That's when the energy just it's a night and day difference. And they love it. And I can understand why. They want to learn how to read cards. They're not hearing about theories or procedures or anything anymore. Now they're doing it. Now they're reading the cards. And when you could just tell by looking at them that this is way more important than any words you're going to be telling me. This is what I came to do. Learn these cards. And this is a good way to learn them. Throwing them over on the table and reading them with some guidance, you know, but something to that. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. Interaction with other people, throwing the cards over, talking about them is a good thing. Keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon.